Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Hi, and thanks for joining us today. So I'm going to talk to you today about understanding the social dynamic and its link to your business decisions. As Ray said, I am part of Ipsos, specifically a group called Social Media Exchange. So as Catherine mentioned, we are a specialist group within Ipsos that's focused on social intelligence and online community. Let's start with the fact. The fact of the matter today is that social media interactions and reactions are now a critical part of the marketing mix. So our society has undergone a total behavioral shift in the last decade. Today's consumer is online and specifically on social media. So as you can see here, 81% of the US population has a social networking profile as of this year. And the number of worldwide social media users is expected to grow to almost 3 billion by 2020. Pretty crazy. And a key impact of the growth in social media usage is really in how we share information. So social media really scales information more quickly than any technology in the history of mankind. It's pretty crazy. So take, for example, the video of Professor Robert Kelly being interviewed on BBC News earlier this year. I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but while on live television, his kids video bombed his interview. Within a few hours of it airing, the video generated over 15 million views. Or more recently, our president in the United States, he tweeted in the middle of the night, which is a normal occurrence for him, but this one tweet featured the bizarre word kovfef. And within an hour of that tweet, despite it being the middle of the night in the US, it became Twitter's #1 trending hashtag worldwide. And it inspired a myriad of memes, like this one playing on the movie Arrival that you can see here. So the spreading of an idea or of news occurring somewhere in the world can no longer be completely blocked by any one organization or entity. As long as one person is able to connect to the internet and express their view about a situation or simply about an idea, then the information that individual will want to share will get out into the world. And that's just the reality of our society today. And this rapid spread of information is really impacting how people make decisions. When we look at why people share information on social media, a key reason is to share information they feel is valuable and to influence action. And this influence really runs deep. So when looking for product recommendations, 49% of respondents in a survey done by Twitter said they relied on influencers. That's second only to tweets from friends, who 56% of consumers sought for guidance. And furthermore, recommendations from influencers were amplified on Twitter, with 20% of subjects saying a tweet from an influencer inspired them to share a product recommendation. So clearly, the actions and reactions consumers make on social media have a major influence on the brand perceptions they have and the purchase decisions they make. So back to my original point, how people share information, how they interact and react in social media has to be part of a brand's marketing mix strategy. And for brands, the massive proliferation of social conversations can be both an opportunity and a challenge. So let's take a look at a couple quick examples from this year. I'm sure you all heard about the unfortunate television ad Pepsi ran earlier this year featuring Kendall Jenner. The controversial advertisement borrowed imagery from the Black Lives Matter movement. And what may have been trying to show solidarity for the movement was actually seen by consumers across social media as trivializing the widespread protests against the killings of Black people by the police. So within 24 hours of releasing the ad, the brand pulled it. They pulled the content, they halted any further rollout based solely on the intense criticism they were receiving in the social environment. And in a statement, they said, Pepsi was trying to project a global message of unity, peace, and understanding. Clearly, we missed the mark and we apologize. So an example of how the social impact and that dynamic can really impact how a brand is making decisions. In contrast, Heineken released an ad called Worlds Apart, posted on YouTube in April of this year. and it shows people with opposing political viewpoints getting to know each other, and it's garnered tons of praise for its sensitive handling of political and social polarization. The contrast between Heineken's effort and Pepsi's was stark, with social media users calling worlds apart the anti-Pepsi ad. People that were in social were talking about how they were crying good tears and bawling their eyes out, and it really connected with their audience. And this connection is really critical. The learning from these recent examples is that having a solid handle on cultural capital is critical to developing a meaningful marketing strategy. Specifically, brands need to know their audiences, inside out, back to front. And as we found in a study we did on influencers earlier this year out of our Ipsos Mori team in the UK, to create an impactful strategy, you need to know what your audience is thinking about before they've even thought of it themselves, which obviously is a hard proposition. But the emphasis for brands needs to be on investing in understanding the culture in which we inhabit, cultural capital. So this is where we feel like online communities can come into play, and this is how we've been using them with our clients. We're using private online communities to actually mimic this social dynamic and understand how the broader social environment might react. They're providing the ideal platform for understanding cultural capital before rolling things out to the broader public. And a reason that communities can provide an ideal environment to mimic this dynamic is because the very foundation of our engagement strategy builds from the core tenets of social media. So we're building from the motivations for using social media to engage members, enabling more than just a static research platform, but a living, breathing community where we can mimic that broader social environment and engage in these collective discussions that ideally will reveal that broader impact. And we can essentially create a testing ground as a result of this to understand and refine brand messaging, product launches, service enhancements, to really help prepare for addressing these elements in the fast-moving social media environment. So as a starting point, core to really understanding the cultural capital and the actions of your audience is ensuring that you go beyond the demographic and delve into the behavioral. Context drives so much of how people make decisions today, and that goes well beyond a person's age, their gender, their income status. So understanding our community members beyond the demographic profile is a key step in establishing this two-way dialogue. Who they want to be, what they do in their daily lives, how they feel, and what they value in life. All of these things help us to really solidify that relationship, and doing that within the private community environment, we're then able to address specific business objectives. So for the last few minutes of the presentation today, I'm going to actually talk you through a few quick examples of how you could use private communities to understand the social dynamic and its link to your business decisions. All right, so the first is really around crowdsourcing. Not a new term, not a new technique, but the reality is that community by its very nature leverages the wisdom of the crowd and allows us to not only co-create concepts and identify themes, but also vetting, feedback, and discovering watch-outs before products or campaigns go to market. So in this example, our client was relaunching a service. They sought out naming ideas from members, and as is common with co-creation exercises, members were encouraged to submit name ideas and vote on other members' ideas. And through this exercise, we were able to help the client identify potential names and bring those to her marketing team. But in addition to just sharing the top name ideas, we were also able to provide points of convergence and themes in the naming ideas based on the member input. Most importantly, though, through using co-creation and enabling this exercise in a collective environment, we were able to organically see how members reacted to other members' ideas and use this learning as an opportunity to identify potential watch-outs. For example, there were some names that members suggested where other members reacted to them because they felt that they were ethnically insensitive or they were construed as sexual innuendos. So in essence, the co-creation exercise really did act as the ability to mimic that broader social environment and identify potential reactions. Another example is around packaging. So we had a client who was considering a change to their product packaging, and they were worried that it might impact consumer perceptions of quality. But making the change from a business perspective would really help them extend the shelf life of the product. So they came to us wanting to understand, one, would anyone notice the packaging change? Two, if they did notice it, how would they react? And three, if a minority noticed it and called it out in a collective environment, how would it impact the broader audience's reaction to this change? So using the community, again, it delivered a unique perspective for the specific need. In the community, members received the unchanged packaging first. They shared input. Then 2 weeks later, they received the change packaging, and they shared input again. They were not told about the packaging change. So we were able to observe organically what came out of the collective discussions, and it allowed us to see if one member noticed it and brought it up, how the other members responded to it, and whether it impacted their perceptions. So just that in itself was a really great learning opportunity. We then finally did tell members the difference in packaging, and once it was revealed, we were able to really delve into their reactions, and most usefully, inform how they'd suggest communicating the change, if at all, to consumers more broadly in the marketplace. So it gave the client an understanding of what they could potentially expect in social media conversation, and guidance on how to really proactively plan their messaging around the rollout. Okay, finally, one last example. And this is really showing how we approached an ideation exercise and incorporated social influence into the design. So in this example, rather than tell consumers what they could offer them, the client wanted to really hear from consumers on products they would design for themselves and also for other consumers. So our client's goal was really to generate as many ideas as possible in a short amount of time. Pretty straightforward. So members were first shown one consumer scenario at a time and asked to create a product and post a picture for each scenario. After creating each idea, the members added a photo and a description to help visualize it. And then they reviewed each other's ideas, adding input and liking ideas that resonated for them. So, you know, pretty standard ideation exercise using the broader community environment. And they were able to build on each other's comments and create even more ideas. But how social influence played a role is twofold. One, it really helped to obviously inform which ideas rose to the top. But in addition to addressing this specific ideation need for the client, we were actually able to assess how members reacted to certain ideas and use that to create consumer target profiles to use as a building block to a predictive model for assessing potential reach and social influence in their product development initiatives overall. So giving you the ability to potentially look at how social influence plays a role in your product development strategy. So I know I'm out of time, so I hope these few short examples help to illustrate the many ways communities can help to inform the social dynamic and its impact on your business decisions. It's really not about reinventing the wheel, but shifting the lens in which we design and analyze information so that it incorporates a layer of learning focused on how brands can better navigate the incredibly fast-moving social environment. Thanks for your time today. Here's my contact info if you want to reach out. I'm very passionate about this topic and would love to chat with any of you as a follow-up. Okay, now back to Ray.